Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Fred's Garage. We can't let a beautiful day like this go to waste. Let's go paddleboarding. What do you think? Hey, come on with me. All right, all we gotta do is just throw this in the Maverick, and we'll be all set to go. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if I trust that. Tell you what, let's put the tailgate down. See if that's any better. Whoa. Well, that'll work. Can I put it on its side? Whoa. All right. I know. We're gonna figure this out here. We're gonna do it. We're gonna lift this tailgate up. I don't know, man. You trust that to make it down the street? Well, we got to come up with a better solution. And I got one on today's episode of Fred's Garage. So stick around and I'll show you how we can go from this to this. Now, this is the way to live. And that's why the shorty antenna comes in so handy. If you'd like to see how to do that at a half to a third the price of their name brand competitors, stick around and I'll show you how that's done. Hey everyone, so this is the rack. Now, first off, it's extremely heavy, so you're probably gonna need two people to help you, or a dolly or something. And as you can see, as all things, it takes a beating. So hopefully when we open it up, it'll all be in one piece. This company on Amazon, it's called Milliprone. They reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do a unboxing and a review video of their rack. And I said, sure, let's do it. Let's show everybody what the rack looks like on a Ford Maverick. As always, I'm going to put it together, show it to you real up close, and then you can make your own decision. If you're interested in the rack or anything you see in any of my videos, they'll always be in the description below, okay? Let's start off by grabbing our trusty razor knife and opening this box. See what comes inside. And hopefully, the shipping company hasn't destroyed it too bad. I mean, I give them credit. It is heavy. That's a hard thing to move around. It's actually pretty amazing how they can get this from wherever it's made to your doorstep, you know? All right. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut the front so you can see it better. Whoa. Okay. Got some nice foam. Hey, I got to tell you, I'm extremely happy. For the first time in all these parts, all these upgrades, we got some really good directions. Several pages of directions. I think that's a first. Or it's at least the first time that I actually got legible directions. So that's good. That's a huge plus right there. And everything's nice and wrapped, as you can see. Everything's wrapped real well. They did a great job making sure this makes it here in one piece. All right, this is what we're going to do. There's too much stuff here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything out. I'm going to unwrap everything. And then I'm going to leave it on the table. And then we'll discuss it, okay? So I'll be right back. All right. That was a lot of unwrapping. This is only basically half of the stuff that came in the box. So let's start from here. You have these plastic end caps that cover these bolts. So it looks pretty. They actually give you 4 tie downs. 4 tie downs for you to use to tie your stuff down. Weather stripping for the top bar. All the nuts, which are really nice, come in separate bags and they're labeled. 1, 2, 3. And they give you a nice, actually a pretty nice wrench, 14 and 12 millimeter. And they give you a number 8 Allen wrench. And inside this pack is another pack that has a number 6 Allen wrench and smaller bolts for these end caps, okay? So then we move on. We have these 2 rubber pieces. These rubber pieces are going to fit underneath the main supports. We'll get to that when we do the assembly. A lot of people feel like they can skip this because we have the hard plastic top on the Maverick. I don't believe you can. I'm not going to. I don't want to scratch that hard top, and this rubber will help the plastic and the aluminum from moving around. So we're definitely installing those. You have 4 end caps with nice tie down ends. Getting back to the main support, okay? There's 4 of them. They're going to go like this on your bed. The lip's going to go in towards the inside of the bed. And this is the outside of the vehicle, okay? And you can see the angling in towards the bed, okay? So this would be the front passenger side, okay? So if you look at the Maverick, front passenger side. This one you can see would be the front driver's side, okay? So you can see how they move into each other, and they both have the lips on the inside, okay? But we'll get to that when we get to the installation. You have these top pieces, okay? Really nice C channels. They're going to fit in there, real nice C channels. The one thing I want to say is this whole thing's made out of aluminum, which is real nice, so we don't have to worry about rusting. And the powder coating is really, really nice. And I actually had no damage that I've come across so far in the shipping. So if you look at this channel and this channel, you see you have the 2 bolts here. You see you have the 2 bolts here and the 2 bolts here. You might need to loosen them a little bit. But this channel and this channel will fit one inside the other. And then we're going to snug those up. So it's going to look like this. And then you adjust the height, whatever height you want. Okay, so you're going to have the lip on the inside, it facing in towards the middle of the truck, this piece facing in. Okay, passenger side front, driver's side front. Same with this one. Okay, so this one, driver's side front, that's going to fit in there. And when you're done, they're going to look like this. Okay, the back ones are going to be the exact same, but in the opposite direction. Okay, so this bar is going to go towards the middle of the bed no matter how you look at it. So the front ones, this bar is going to face the middle of the bed. The back ones, this bar is going to face the middle of the bed. Okay, the only thing going to be different is this top piece on the back ones are going to be facing the other way. And the angle on the back ones are going to be facing the other way. I know it sounds confusing, but it's very easy. So what else we have? We have this bar. This bar is adjustable. This is so it can fit on the length of your bed. You can make it longer or shorter. This rack probably fits multiple trucks like Rangers and Canyons and Tacomas. So you can adjust it for whatever your bed size is, okay? And then we have the top rail. Once these are mounted, the top rail will go across, okay? And they'll bolt into these. But we'll get to that when we get to that. All right, and then lastly, 8 of these, 2 for each one. Okay, they come apart. And if you have looked inside the bed of your Maverick, you're going to have a lip. This is going to slide inside the lip, We're going to bolt these to this, and we're going to tighten this up, and that's going to secure the rack on the lip of the Maverick, okay? So, oh, one more thing I wanted to tell you. When I first got it, I wiggled this, and I heard sounded like rolling bolts. So I'm assuming, did something fall in there? Is there something in there? So I took one apart. Don't be concerned with the noise you hear, okay? Because there's six bolts encapsulated in between these two pieces of aluminum, and that's the noise you'll hear, okay? Let me put it close to the mic, see if you can hear it. So when you hear that noise, don't worry about it. Nothing fell in there. It's the way it's supposed to be. I was worried about it. I took it apart, and I realized it. Okay, one last thing. The directions. Please feel free to follow these directions step by step, okay? They're written out real nice. And on the bottom of the sections, it actually tells you what bag the bolts are in. Please follow the directions. I am going to use the directions as a reference, but I'm not going to follow them step by step. The reason I'm not going to follow the directions step by step is that I am too old to jump in and out of that bed a dozen times to bolt everything on piece by piece. So what I do know is the inside rail of the bed is 52.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble each one of these racks to 51.5 inches or 52 inches, and I'm going to assemble it here where I can sit down, assemble it, and not hurt my back. And then I'm going to pick the rack up, place it in the bed, and then the last thing I'm going to do is secure this after I secure these cross sections to the bed. Okay? So like I said, you can follow me and do it the way I do it, or you can follow the directions. It's probably better for you to follow the directions. So if you want to stick around, we're going to assemble the racks, and then we'll place it on the truck and assemble it on the truck, okay? All right, so this is what I want to end up with, okay? And remember, from the inside of this spot here to the inside of this spot here is 52.5. It's 52.5 inches from the inside of our bed. All right, let's start the assembly process. And in my opinion, we're going to start with the hardest part of this whole project right now. And that is getting this rubber gasket in this channel. If you look at this pipe, you'll see there's a C-shaped channel that runs along the whole piece. And they give you this gasket, which is a C-shaped gasket that fits inside that channel. There's no easy way of getting it in there. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. And a word of advice is these T-bolts are what you would use to fit inside this channel to bolt something to the top. So if you're going to put a rack, if you're going to put like a cargo box or cargo wrap on the top, make sure you put these where you want them before you feed this rubber. Otherwise, you're going to have to be cutting the rubber and taking it out, putting it back in. If you're going to place a rooftop tent, make sure you find out where the bolts are going to go, and then you would just cut your rubber to go in between the bolts, and it would make your life a lot easier. Because once you get the rubber up here, you'll have to take it off to feed these bolts back through, okay? But I'm only going to use it for kayaks and paddle boards and stuff like that, so I'm going to feed this whole rubber right through it. You can try to get one side of the C in and then pop in the other side and work your way down. That's extremely difficult. I tried that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get some dishwashing detergent, and I'm going to place a couple of little drops on my channel. And I'm going to grab my gasket. I'm going to feed it in there. Get it started. And then push it up. And use that dishwashing detergent to help it slide, okay? And once she binds up, I'll just put a little more. So she's going pretty good now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a pair of needle nose pliers, grab the gasket, pull the gasket, add a couple more drops of soap. And the nice thing about the dishwashing detergent is it's going to wash away. It's dishwashing detergent. Feed it through. This is going to take some time. It's not easy. It wants to bind up and it doesn't want to go. So I might even put a little more soap back here. Get some soap in those channels. And try to get that to fish it through. As you can see, it's already binding and she doesn't want to go. If anybody out there has a trick or knows how to make this quicker and easier, please do us all a favor and put it in the comments. All right. No sense in you watching me struggle on this. Let me get this done, and then we'll get back to the easy part of assembling the whole rail. Okay. Like I said, that's the hardest part of the whole project. The easiest way to do this is to have help push it from this end while you pull it with the needle nose pliers on that end that I found, and add a lot of dish soap. But we're done, okay? So now, if you notice on the end, you're going to have a little extra. So you have two choices here. When your cap goes on, you could cut the rubber at the end of the cap, or you could cut the rubber at the end of the pipe. I want to cut the rubber at the end of the pipe because I want this bolt hole to help hold my rubber so it's not running around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that right at the end with this razor knife, being careful not to cut my fingers. And that's how I want it, nice and flush. The problem is there's a bolt that goes through here and there's no bolt hole, right? So what I'm going to do is flip it over. I'm going to grab my drill with a 1/4-inch drill bit. I'm going to go in right through here on the bottom side, and I'm going to drill a hole through the rubber so the bolt can go through. That side. And this side. And actually with all that soap, it makes it go nice and easy. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm just going to clean up those holes. There we go. And there we go. And if you look, you have two nice holes right where you need them. Now I'm going to grab my end caps. One end has a bolt hole mark and one end has a circle. The circle one is going to go on the top. So we're going to line that up on the end. We're going to grab bag number 3. Inside bag number 3 is a little bag. And inside that little bag are the bolts for those end pieces. So we're going to have this bolt. We're going to place a flat washer on it. We're going to feed that through the rubber and through the top. We're going to grab our Allen wrench and our little nut that came with it. We're going to flip it over, put on the nut, use an adjustable wrench or whatever wrench you have to hold it, and this Allen wrench to tighten the bolt. So we're going to tighten that up. All right, we're going to repeat the process on this side with the cap. But before I put this cap on, I'm going to go to bag number 3, and I'm going to pull out 4 of these T-bolts. And we're going to slide those in. 2 for either side. Because once you put the cap in, you won't be able to slide these in. We're going to take our cap, place that back on, take our screw, feed that through, and take our little nut, tighten that up, grab our Allen wrench and our adjustable wrench, and we're going to tighten it up. And we're just going to tighten it up. Okay, we're done. Let's get the legs. Once you get this rubber part on, it's pretty easy. So we got our 2 pieces. Remember, the L shapes are going to be on the inside of the bed, curved in, okay? And we have our 2 tops. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our Allen wrench, and we're just going to loosen these bolts a half a turn or turn, just so we can slide these in, get the C channel in these uprights. Now remember, which way is this going? This is going in like so. Going to slide in. and they'll go all the way down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use this to just snug it up a little, because when we move it into the truck, we don't want this coming apart, okay? So just give it a little snug. Barely even have to touch it. All right, do the same to this one. Loosen those up. And like I said, this is the way I'm doing it. I'd rather be sitting in the chair on this table doing it than in the truck. You can do it whichever way you can do it whatever way you'd like. Grab this, so it's going to sit like this on the inside of the truck. This is going to fit like that, so this hoop is going on the inside, okay? All right. And let's give it a little snug, just to keep them from coming apart when we put them in the truck. Okay, those are done. I'm going to lay it flat, and I'm going to lay it flat. Okay, so we have our T-bolts. We're going to line them up, and we're going to feed it through. And what we're going to do is we're going to use these locking nuts. Now, the direction wants me to use a flat washer. I am not going to use a flat washer. The reason is this will lock onto the washer, but the washer won't lock onto the bar. So I'm just going to use this. And we're going to tighten that up. And we're going to put another one here. And I'm going to grab one of my favorite tools, which I've said multiple times is this little T 1/4-inch socket tool with a 13 millimeter. And I'm just going to use that to a little snugging. I still have to adjust it and move it, so just enough to hold them together. And we're going to do the same thing to this side. Bring it up. Line up the T-bolts. Put it through. 2 nuts. Trusty little tool. And snug it up. Now, because this table isn't big enough, what I'll do before I put it in the truck is I'll put it on the floor, and I'll measure from the inside here to the inside here around 51, 51 and a half, because I know the inside of the truck's 52 and a half. And then the last piece. Some videos I've seen, they've deleted this rubber piece because we have the plastic on the back of the bed. I don't think that's a good idea because I don't want to scratch up the plastic on my bed. Plus, this helps give you a little friction, keeps it from moving around, okay? And that's it. Put the other one on. And we're done. Now, we'll put it down on the ground. We'll adjust it. We'll tighten these up a little more so that it won't move in or out. And then we'll put it in the truck. Keeping the rack at the lowest point, this level. And by keeping the rack at the lowest level, I don't have to worry about it tilting or tipping or scratching my truck. If it was real high, it'd be a balance problem. Once we get the bottoms bolted on, then we'll adjust this to where we want it. Okay? So let me clean up this mess and we'll move out to the truck, okay? Now that it's all assembled, all we're going to do is place her in there. We're going to get in the truck. And then we're just going to gently place her on the rails. And because we measured correctly, she fits right in. All right. So now all we have to do is use our trusty T-tool with the 13. Loosen this up. And push this out so it goes exactly to the end of the rail. And we'll do the same on this side. Push it so it goes exactly to the end of the rail. So they're as far out as they can be. And then with our tape measure, we're going to measure. So we got 7 inches, 6.5 inches. So we're going to move that over a quarter. Perfect. And then the other thing we want to do is make sure that we measure from the cab 2 inches, 2 inches. And that's as far forward as it can go. Okay? So now let's talk brackets. So this is the bracket. It's going to pinch in from underneath. When you get these out of bag number 2, you will see that there's a longer and a shorter one. Longer and shorter. Let's start with the shorter one. This is how they want you to build it. They want you to use the bolt, place on a split washer or a lock washer, place on a flat washer, place it through the top of that, and then you have this square spacer. So that's how they want it to be. Okay? So we're going to find those 4 bolts on the bottom, and then we're going to bolt this up. So I'm going to bring you in real close so you can see me do it on the other side. There's 2 on each brace, so 8 total. And let me show it to you. Okay, so if you remember underneath here, there's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 encapsulated nuts. That's so you have leeway on where your bracket goes. Okay, for obstructions. We're going to have the little plastic clips that come down that hold the top plastic, so you want to move it in front or behind those clips. If possible, it'd be best to go as far towards the cab and as far towards the back as possible. And this is how she's going to go. And we're going to pinch this in between that and place it on our bolt. Place it on our nut. And then we're just going to hand tighten the bolt. And just like so, she's going to go right in. And then we're going to get our Allen wrench. And we're going to place her in there, and we're just going to tighten her up. All right, so now here's a trick. If you have wires or anything, take them out of the way or run them in between. And then when you tighten it, you might feel like it's not tightening, and that's because the encapsulated nut is a lock nut. So you want to put your finger in there and put some downward pressure. That downward pressure will lock your nut into place, and now it'll draw itself up. And as you can see, she's tightening up. Okay. Now we're going to grab our longer bolt with a lock washer, a flat washer. We're going to feed it through here into the back. And we're going to start her by hand. Always start by hand, okay? You don't want to cross thread anything. And then once you get it started by hand, using your Allen wrench, I know that this one isn't the supplied one, but using your Allen wrench, you're going to tighten her up and she's going to squeeze and hold the bracket. I'm going to do the other 7, and then I'll come right back to you. All right, so they're all on. Now we're going to put on our crossbars, 4 bolts. You're going to adjust your crossbars to fit the way you want it to fit. You're going to grab your bolt and a washer out of bag number 2. You're going to place it in there. Get it started by hand. Always started by hand. All right, so we're almost done. We got all 8 of those in. We got our crossbars on. And then we're going to get our little black caps. And we're going to place those over the bolts. So it looks pretty. So before we end, we're going to get our trusty T2 with the 13. We're going to go around and make sure everything's tightened. We're going to get an Allen wrench, go around and make sure everything is tight. Then the rack world is yours. You can do whatever you want. I already put in the 2 tie downs right here, as you can see. They just slide right in. And there's hundreds of accessories. Racks, lights, tents, whatever you need to do. But I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a ride to the beach and see what it looks like in a nicer environment. So stick around if you want to see that. Otherwise, do me a favor. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, the notification button, leave a comment, and you guys have a great day. Doesn't that look great? Think of the possibilities. You can have paddleboard. You could switch that out for a canoe or a small aluminum boat. You could add a rooftop tent. Whatever you want, at a third the price of the name brand competition.